What's up, guys? Back at it again with another chariot racing video. I'm Hutch Udy, this is Jarrett Tyre, Jason Udy, Trent Carter, and Josh Tyre.
Thanks, Hutch. Welcome back, Chariot Racing Central. It's a new year. We've run three great events. We're looking forward to the new year and how we're going to finish out the season. We've still got some awesome events ahead of us, but today we wanted to take a minute and talk about what happened this past weekend at the Acr Invitational. First and foremost, thank you to Pinnacle Construction and RM Training Stables for sponsoring this event. It's sure fun to be able to run for some money, and we can't do that without these great sponsors. So if you see anyone associated with them, be sure and give them a thank you. Let's start. First, I just kind of want to ask each one of the crew to talk a little bit about something neat that happened this weekend or something that they thought was interesting. Well, we'll start with Hutch.
I'm going to talk a little bit about Gibbs Racing, and it's super fun to watch Tori be back driving and hear a scream from down at the trailer.
How'd they run?
They ran really good, I thought. They looked really impressive on the video. And not to mention that Tori's a really great horseman. Just every time they hop out of the trailer, wrap from hoof to shoulder. They always look really good. Everything's always super nice. And just starting off with a win. You can't start off any better than with a win.
I don't know as though you find a better horseman. That's in all honesty. Yeah. Because if you want to see horses that look super sharp, go check out Tori's. They're shining, they're well taken care of. She just does a great job, and it's super fun to see her back and run a 22:42 first time. Good
Top
for
10
her.
times.
Yeah,
right off the bat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
with a first time in an actual race with Alma the Younger too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how about also from that race, not going away from Tori, but how about Parkinson and Lusk and the improvement that they made? You know, I think they went 22:51 this week, so that was a huge step up for those guys.
They
And
also
actually had that race for probably 350 yards, so big step up for those guys.
They also gave Jess Purr a week off.
Yeah.
And then he came back and run really good.
Yeah.
It's just another team with Gibbs Racing with that kind of a start. You think, okay, can we really throw another team into that mix that we've talked about all year of who's going to get into the first division? So it just adds another element of how tough it's going to be this season. I wanted to talk just a little bit about a couple of teams that looked really good also this week. One in Gift Racing. This was their first official race of the season, and I think Cody had to be pretty happy with how they came out. We know what Celebration for Cash can do, but then you've got a horse like AJ Renegade, which we didn't know, I didn't know anything about. Looked good to me.
It looked really good right from the start. I think Cody was trying to buffalo us or something. He was super worried about AJ Renegade leaving the gate, but you watch the gate video, I thought he left exceptional.
Yeah,
and they ran a really good time. You put Celebration for Cash. If AJ Renegade gets better, they're just going to get better and better as the year goes on. So.
And then S&H Racing, I thought, you know, they took 1 week off, I think, the last event, but the first event that they ran and then this one looked great both times. I know they ran Weldon's the first time, was right there in that race, and then they win this week with a 22:75, which is an excellent time on that track. So I know talking to Sherry Hansen, she's super excited about this team and how they're doing this year. So that's another team to watch. And then one other, kind of a surprise for me, but maybe shouldn't be, is the team of Cowboy Up and Flying T. They've looked a little down, obviously. Last year, that team, Flying T and Cowboy Up, I think is how it was named last year, but didn't look great until they got to the last day of World, ran a really fast time, but then they get here and 3 events in, I think maybe they found a little bit of what they have had in the past. That to me was super surprising.
Yeah, it looked really good.
So moving on, Jarrett, what did you think from this past week?
I think over the past couple of weeks we've talked a lot about Jess and Grant's team, and this week we got to see what they were really capable of. They came out, ran the fastest time of the day, won the event, ran a 22:15 I believe, and looked visibly impressive. We've talked a lot about Train's story and him improving over the last couple of weeks, and to see this team putting it together, it kind of makes everything click for each of us, saying, yeah, they are a legit contender. We've talked about it, now we're actually seeing it. Another thing that I noticed over the course of the day was we look a lot at the teams that won races, but there were a lot of teams that got beat that still ran really, really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about this season is everybody is pretty well on the same playing field. It doesn't matter if you win or lose, like, there are fast times being put down.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And it makes it for really fun races. And that's just what I saw from this last Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give you a point on the Jesse Grant team. What I think is so impressive, well, that I told you all guys, Train Story was going to be breakout horse of the year, and he proved that to everybody. But the second thing is if you go back and now you looked at last 2 weeks, they run Warner Rock last week, they run Moon and Newbold, both teams that were in the championship dash last year, and they went away from them at the end of the race. They ran away from those guys, and those are two top quality teams that they just ran away from. So that is a very, very legit team. Another interesting fact was a little different driving there too with the Jesse
Yeah,
Grant
well,
team.
and it seems to me that it doesn't really matter who's in the buggy, they're going to go.
Yeah, for sure. They ran really well. They looked good.
So let me throw this out here, because this is something I've thought about in the past, and that kind of leads into one of my questions that I want to ask. You say it doesn't matter who you throw into that buggy. Two horses like that are going to be good either way. But answer me this, and I'll throw it over you, Jarrett. What kind of, this is maybe a buy or sell question. Can a driver make a difference between two horses like SP Four Square and Train Story? Can it change them from just a good first division team to a world championship team? Does a driver make that big of a difference?
I don't drive, so perhaps I'm the wrong person to give the answer on this. But I think understanding your horses is something that's crucial in every aspect of this sport. And so if a driver understands his horses and understands what they're going to do in the gates, how they're going to react to certain things, then it can improve a team or it can hinder a team if you're unaware of what's going to happen. But as far as, I don't know, I would throw it over to Josh because he would probably know a lot more about that than I would.
I think it does.
Well, let me ask it this way before you start. You won the world last year with your two horses. Could anybody have got in that chariot on that day and won the world with those two?
That's a tough question. That's a layered question, Trent.
Well,
Maybe, possibly. You know, and it depends because each horse is different. You know, each one of these horses has their own personality, and each horse likes to be driven differently. There's some horses they like a tighter hold on their mouth. Some horses, you know, let them go. You know, feed them line. The other thing that I think comes into play on that is the ability for a driver to stay in place, to stay in his lane and not drift in big situations or in championship situations, because when you drift, you lose ground. But then also when you get in those tight situations, to be able to have the, I don't want to say huevos, so to speak, the moxie, to not back down and to stay in that situation. Because I think that's really important. You know, you go back to that race, and this is not just trying to talk about my own self, but in that championship dash, if you go back and watch the gate video, Moon and Newbold actually comes over a little bit at the start of that race, and had I checked out of that race, probably don't win that race. So I definitely think the different drivers make a difference, but with two horses like that, I think you're okay.
And I'm just glad that Hutch said that, because it brought that to my mind, and I've heard people say it before, oh, well, it didn't matter who was in the buggy with that team, they're going to win the world championship, and I couldn't disagree with that more. In my opinion, I've seen guys that drive and think it doesn't matter who you put them in with, they're not going to win a world championship. I look at it that way, but I think two horses like this, I agree, they're so good, maybe it doesn't matter, but on the other hand, I think you've got two guys there with Jess Udy and Jeff Sandberg that both
know what they're doing.
It's not like you're putting in a rookie in a veteran. So just an interesting thing to think about. I'm kind of glad to get some of their opinions on that too, because I've always wondered as well. Jason, what did you take away from last week?
I'm going to talk about a couple things. I think one of the things that I noticed is some of your top teams or upper teams started to show some inconsistencies this week. You had horses acting up in gates on some of those top teams. You have Moon and Newbold, their gray horse, threw a little bit of a fit like he can do. You've got Jensen and Ropoletto, their horse kind of threw a little bit of a fit. He hasn't been wanting to stand in there at all. And then you've got Jay Pitcher, his Palomino, which if you watch that Palomino, he always throws a little bit of a fit in there and has to do his little thing, and if he doesn't, then they have a hard time. It hasn't cost Jay until last week, but I'm surprised it hasn't before. So that's one of the things that I notice is those inconsistencies. You're going to notice that Jensen's are going to switch horses. Probably because of that inconsistency, it'll be interesting to see if that new horse, is it BD Illusion, what he does. I mean, watching him last week, I think they ran him back-to-back weeks, right?
Yep.
So that was his second out, and I don't know as though he was, I thought the other horse was maybe outrunning him a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. The other thing is the new horses and their consistency. Brand new horses. You saw front and center from Hadley and C3. That team is super nice. Where are they sitting?
Second on average points.
Average points, they're sitting second right now. That horse has been a pleasant surprise for those guys. You've got Big Time Patriot from from Steer Crazy, who is second overall in points. And then you've got Train Story. So 3 brand new horses that are showing that consistency that you like to see early in the year.
Yeah, and I'll throw in another horse that this year maybe isn't that first division horse, but I think another year of maturity is Two Hawks on
Absolutely.
BSW Racing. I think that horse is the absolute real deal. Every week he improves. Got to remember that horse is only 3 years old too, so he's relatively young to be running on the Chariot. Give that horse another year to mature, and Brody might be looking for another horse to get into the first division to go with Two Hawks.
Yeah, that team was fun to watch this week. I know they get beat by Warner Rock. That's a tough draw, but I think Brody was super happy with how that team ran. They looked really good. So that's our rundown from the ACR Invitational. We hope you guys came and watched it, enjoyed it. It was a fun event. The track was beautiful. I got to shout out to those that helped with the track. I mean, it was super nice. So thank you, Justin, and all those who helped with the track. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.